Hi lovely people, my name is Nico and I'm the photographer for People Places Asia. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I think you should buy this camera in 2021. This camera is a all-around, well-functioning, good, personal to everyday use camera, and it comes in at a really reasonable price, and that is the Fujifilm X-E3. Now, a quick little disclaimer, this is not a full-on review of this camera. However, I do want to highlight some of the features of this camera and why I think it's a really good purchase in 2021. This camera was released in 2017, and so you might be thinking, that sounds like an outdated camera. I would beg to differ. When I first switched from Canon to Fujifilm back in 2018, it was because of an X-E1. That's a first generation of this type of camera, and I was really impressed with the final results of the X-E1. Jump forward a few years and I'm looking at the X-E3. I picked this up over the holidays, and after using it for a few months, I am very much impressed with this camera and the final results that I can get out of it. So let's look at some highlights of this camera and why I think you should get it. First, let's look at the price. Now, the cost of this camera right now is about $800 or 40,000 pesos here in the Philippines. That is a really good price for what you get in this camera. If you know anything about Fujifilm's lenses, this lens here alone is 25,000 pesos. So in a sense, you're either getting a 25,000 peso lens plus a 15,000 peso camera, or vice versa. Either way, you're getting an amazing lens and an amazing deal for this camera. Next, let's talk about specs. Now, the X-E3 has the same sensor and almost the same internals with everything as the X-T2 and the X Pro 2. I've been using the X-T2 since 2018, and I have been absolutely amazed and very much pleased with the final results that I have gotten out of the X-T2. And so knowing that this sensor is the same, when we picked this up and after using it for a couple of months, and even with some side-by-side comparisons, this camera delivers the exact same image and the exact same result as the X-T2. So you're getting really a professional grade sensor and a professional grade result out of a much smaller and much more compact camera. One other thing to also note is that this camera has been compared to the X100 series, X100V or X100F, and it's a debatable topic whether this camera is better than that camera or not. Now, I'm not going to tell you which one is better, but I will give you one good reason why personally I would pick this camera over the X100 series, and that is because this camera, you can remove the lens. The X100 series cameras do not allow you to remove the lens because it has a fixed lens on it, whereas here with the X-E3, as you can see, I can remove the lens and I can put any of the Fujifilm X system lenses on this camera. And so for that reason, spec-wise, you get a lot more control and a lot more options and capability for you to be able to deliver your final photo. Okay, next let's talk about the ease of use. Now, first off, this camera is quite small. I wouldn't say it's too small, but it's small enough that it's not intruding, and people don't get a scare when you bring it up and take a photo of somebody. It comes in at just 337 grams, so it's quite light also, which means that if you're using it all day long, you're not going to feel tired or worn out at the end of the day. Another thing to note is that unlike the X-T2 or the X Pro 2, this has a touchscreen. And so this is one of the first touchscreens, I believe, that Fujifilm put into these models of cameras. So with that, you have the swipe features, you have the ability to zoom in and out, and overall, the touchscreen works great. Another thing to note is that this camera has Bluetooth. So unlike the, again, X-T2 or the X Pro 2, you can easily sync your phone to this via Bluetooth, and that gives a lot more opportunities for file syncing, file transfers, controlling the camera remotely, and so having that Bluetooth feature is really nice. One final thing to point out that I like about this camera is that it has a designated auto switch. So you can be in complete manual mode, and then when you have a friend or your kid or somebody that doesn't really know how to use a camera, you can just quickly switch this to auto mode and hand it off to basically anybody, and the camera will do all of the work, and you come out with still a pretty decent, if not great photo, and the person that you hand it off to can worry more about capturing the moment than fiddling around with the settings or freaking out because they don't know how to take a photo with the correct settings. Next, let's look at the Viewfinder. Now, what's unique about the Viewfinder on the X-E3 is that it has an OVF-like EVF. What I mean by that is that although it does not have the actual optical viewfinder of the X Pro 2 or what you would see on a lot of Leica cameras, you do get the same location. And so what I like about that and what makes that really helpful is that when you bring this to your eye, unlike with the X-T2 or other cameras where the EVF or viewfinder is located in the center, here I can bring it to my eye, and with my other eye I can see everything that comes in and out of frame. So I can see a moment right before it's about to happen. I can see somebody that's about to walk into the frame when I'm on the street. And so I really like that feature about this camera. Last, let's talk about the looks. Now, for me, this camera just looks really cool. You kind of have that film-like look to the camera. You have the tactile dials on top. The button layout is just great. Again, the form factor is great. It's not intrusive, and the matte black or all black version of this camera looks really great. Even the silver option looks really cool. And it's just all around a great looking camera. And I do think that does impact how you take photos. When the camera looks great, when the camera feels great, when it performs great, all those things impact how you go about photographing your day or photographing different things that you are into taking photos of. Now, before you buy this camera, I do want to point out a few quick things. If you are a wedding photographer or you do a lot of paid client work, we would probably point you in a slightly different area of camera choice, and that is primarily because this camera only has one card slot. So if you are doing work where you need to have those backed up files or dual memory cards, then I would probably look at the X Pro or the XT series camera. Also, this camera is not weather sealed, so if you're going to the rainforest or if you're going to a snowy mountain, we would recommend that you leave this camera behind. Another thing to point out is that there is no tilt screen and there is no flip screen on this camera. So if you need those, again, look at the X Pro or XT series. And finally, this camera does have a few limited capabilities with video, the main one being the audio jack. It has a 2.5 audio jack instead of the standard 3.5 audio jack, so you can get a converter, but we've had some issues with different converter brands. So those are a few things that we would point out before you buy this camera. If those things are a deal breaker for you, then I would probably look at the X Pro 2 or XT2 around the same time frame as this camera, or look at the new X-E4 that just came out recently that has a lot more upgraded specs and a lot of new features unlike this X-E3. In conclusion, if you're looking for a great camera that does well all around, functions well, is great for street photography, great for everyday use, great for travel, family, then we would recommend the Fujifilm X-E3. And in 2021, this is a great camera, a great price, and just all around a good pickup to get in this year. We got ours from JuanGadget on Lazada. We're not paid to say that, but they did a great job in delivering it to us here to Baguio City. So if you want to pick one up, JuanGadget has them available amongst a few others as well. And let us know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is a good purchase or a good deal in 2021? Do you guys have any contenders or any other suggestions around the similar price range that would be good to purchase in 2021, or something that you would put up against this camera or maybe might be better than this camera? Let us know in the comments, and feel free to subscribe or to give us a like. Thank you guys so much for watching, and God bless.